What's up, NBA fan? What's up, all sports fans? This your boy JB, host of the Behind the Bench podcast networking channel. Giving a shout out to the rest of the crew: Shad, Kelvin, Jermaine, KB Film Room, Big Dog, Talk Sports. That's right. That's right. For everyone who's tuning in, we thank you for supporting Behind the Bench and subscribing to the channel, helping us be the best that we can be. And I know it's been a while for myself since I've provided content due to time constraints, but I'm back on schedule, back on point. And I'm going to be, as well as members of the crew, providing consistent video content from this point on. Sports is at an apex right now. Olympics, football coming up, baseball, as they say, this is the dog days of summer in baseball. So there's plenty to talk about. College football too. So, but man, I came across this graphic right here. I have to talk about this right here. And I've attempted to focus on the Olympics. You know, the Olympics only happens once every 4 years. The world's greatest athletes commanding center stage. You know what I mean? And I figured, man, you know, they deserve their shine, man, you know, so the focus should be on them. But this is a unique situation here. And this is what I call the real tale of the tape. This is the real tale of the tape. No agendas, no cutting on these sports shows every day on TV and radio, man. And you just, you witness one fable after the next, misrepresentation of history, misnomers, distortions, deliberate fabrications or whatnot. And it's become such a turnoff, man. I say, you know what? I don't even need to waste my time to tune in. This is the beautiful thing about YouTube and the content providers, the YouTube channels, the sports channels that I've came across and members of the Behind the Bench crew have came across and took time to listen to. There's a lot of basketball fans, NBA fans, man. They're fed up with the current commentary of NBA's past. And as I said in many a video, in any walk of life, you cannot distort the past. Because if you try to distort the past or disown the past, well, the future direction of what it is that you try to disassociate the past from, the future could become bleak and in a hurry. And that's what we've been witnessing. But I believe in due time, it will correct itself. Time is of essence. And the one thing that these agenda setters on these shows, they cannot do, they cannot control time. They cannot dictate time. And eventually, history, facts, truth will win out. Guaranteed. Now, I always like to set the stage, man. And this is a graphic here. And it's titled, Players and First Round Draft Picks Traded over the course of these four players' careers that are listed. And this is all accurate. This is all factual. You got, I'm going to go from right to left. You got Steph Curry. You got Kobe Bean Bryant. You got Michael Jordan. And you have LeBron James. Now, remember, this is players and first round draft picks traded during each season of these players' careers. And when you scroll down to the end of that list associated with each individual player, God dang it, man. Look. Michael Jordan really only played 11 full seasons for the Chicago Bulls, his original team who drafted him. His last 2 years when he decided to play basketball, came out of retirement for the second time to play in the NBA. He did so at the age of 38 and then retired at the age of 40. Now, he was asked by the Washington Wizards ownership to play for the franchise, to generate revenue. That was really the main reason why they asked him to play, to generate revenue, because they were losing revenue. The previous season before, Jordan even arrived and took over the job as vice president of basketball operations. They were lagging in attendance. There was no excitement about the team, right? And this was years after the name change. Okay. The condition was if he plays 2 years, then he would be promoted to majority. Well, he would hold a minority stake of ownership for the team. Okay. So when I look at his list, technically, I don't really consider the 2 years in Washington. But even if you include that, in all the years that he played in the NBA, a total of 15 seasons. But as I said, he played 11 full seasons for Chicago Bulls. The front office conducted a total of 35 acquisitions that are associated with trading players and draft picks. Think about that. 35. That's an average of 2.2 over 15 seasons. 35. The players who contributed to the championship runs, they were a byproduct of those trades, was a total of only 7 players, man. Only 7 players. The highest player turnover was at the very beginning of his career when he was drafted by the Bulls in 1984. But as he evolved to become the preeminent player of the NBA, and once it was clear cut that All he needed was this type of player and that type of player to complement him. Realistically, if you really think about it, he only really needed one prime player to succeed with, and that was Scottie Pippen. Scottie Pippen was drafted out of a Division II college, Central Arkansas. One prime player. What I mean by prime player, I mean by like a co-star, or someone who can be a consistent number 2 option playing alongside Michael Jordan. Once the Bulls established the roster they were going on to begin their championship run of the 90s, look at this. And that was as early as the 88-89 season. Look at the 89-90 season, one player. Look at the 90-91 season, one player. Look at the 91-92 season, one player. The 92-93 season, 2 players. He returns back towards the end of the 94-95 season with 17 games left to go. The 95-96 season, which produced the historic 72-10 campaign of the Bulls, 1 player. 96-97, 0. 97-98, 2. So a total of 35 players traded or draft picks as far as acquisitions pertaining to those moves in 15 years. Man, you talk about stability, boy. Ooh, man, oh man. Then you have Steph Curry. Now, Steph Curry, the reason I'm going to give him credit is because he is I'm not going to say a miniature player, but Steph Curry is around, 6'3", 6'3" and a half. And he's primarily a shooter. And he became the most prolific 3-point shooter of all time, right? And he's played for one team his whole career, right? And he's represented the franchise through the ups and the downs. He was the cornerstone player when they drafted him in the 08-09 season. And this was after the Baron Davis era, Monte Ellis era, Matt Barnes, Steven Jackson, Andre Biedrins, players like that. Okay. So, Steph Curry, he's been in the league into the league in 2009, 2010 season as a rookie. And Golden State was starting all over again, right? So you look at it, and you say, that's pretty consistent. 51 players in, let's say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 14, 15 seasons. 51 players. That's an average of 2.6. And the players that were involved, or draft picks that were involved in the acquisitions to improve the team, 5 of those players were part of the championship runs, the championship seasons. That's tremendous. Now, the biggest turnover occurred during the 1920 season. Now, remember, that was right after Kevin Durant had signed and left Golden State, signed with Brooklyn. And that's the year they suffered all the injuries. Klay Thompson missed the whole year. Steph Curry missed the majority of the season with I believe, was it a wrist injury, a broken wrist, something to that effect. And then Draymond Green was in and out of the lineup. So there was a lot of flux that year, right? And I think they had the worst record in the West that year. So they was trying to, you know, move on from, losing to Kevin Durant. So that year, man, they had a down year. It happens. It happens. But they retooled, mainly through the draft, bringing in young players like a Jordan Poole at the time, a Jonathan Kuminga, Moses Moody, people like that. And they made a key trade this season in acquiring a younger Andrew Wiggins. I think Andrew Wiggins was only about, 20? It seemed like Andrew Wiggins been in the league for like 20 years for some reason. It's a weird phenomenon, but technically, he was drafted in 2014, so he's really entering like his 10th, 11th season in the NBA, so. But once they reestablish themselves, they have not had a large player turnover. Okay. Hold on 1 second. Then Kobe Bean Bryant. Kobe Bean Bryant played 20 seasons in the NBA. And out of 20 seasons, there were a total of 56 players with draft picks traded for or traded out to improve the team or try to improve the team. That's an average of 2.8 different players a year. That's what you call normal. Because we know, for the most part, even if you win a championship or when a team does win a championship, there's still going to be a change to the roster going into the next year. And it's mainly going to be through the draft, mainly. Just like the Denver Nuggets. They won the championship in 2023. They didn't sign any outside free agents. Moves to the roster, change to the roster happened internally via the draft. They fell short, but they'll bounce back this year, and see if they can reclaim the throne. But even during the down years, let me put it this way. When Shaq was traded after the 2003-2004 season to Miami, okay, you knew the Lakers were going to take a hit going into that next year. When you lose especially a dominant center, you're going to take a hit. Right? But it's what you do in response to that. That's the key. Okay, so that first year, you knew the Lakers was going to struggle, but they slowly and meticulously rebuilt the roster around Kobe Bean Bryant, who was playing during his absolute prime years, his apex as a player, athletically, skill wise, the whole nine. And within 4 years, they elevate themselves to championship status once again. Right? But when you average it all out, the player turnover on a per year basis by means of trading away first round picks and players was minute. Right? So throughout Kobe's career, 19 of the players who was a byproduct of trading other players or first round picks to improve the team, only 19 players played alongside 19 such players played alongside Kobe Bryant during his championship runs over a 20-year period. God dang it, man. I hate to do it, man, but it has to be expressed. It has to be said, man. It has to be said. What's ironic is the three players that I just mentioned prior to the player I'm going to mention, they play the entire career for said franchise. They play their entire career for the team that they started career with. Like I said, the 2 years in Washington for Michael Jordan, he was asked to play to boost revenue for the Wizards ownership because they were not selling tickets. It wasn't about trying to win a championship. You know, they try to criticize Jordan and say, he didn't do nothing in the Wizards, man. But in all actuality, before he played for them, they was only winning like 17, maybe 19 games. They went from 19 wins to 37 wins. So even in and of itself, it shows how competitive Jordan was. He didn't have nowhere near the talent that this next guy I'm finna mention has been playing with in his late 30s. Now, let's get to this guy to the very left here. One LBJ. Now, LBJ tenure with the Lakers produced more acquisitions by trading players and first round picks is more than what we see happen during Michael Jordan's entire career in Chicago. Look. And these are just the first round picks and players drafted in the first round. LeBron James entered the league in 2003. And since he's been in the league, 118 such acquisitions have been made. 68 players who are a byproduct of such acquisitions have been his teammate during his finals runs. So when you look at that number there and the average per season, almost half the roster is overhauled. Almost half. And that's the average. We have seen instances where over half the roster has been overhauled. Now, as I said, you can take Kobe's career total of 56 such acquisitions during his career and Steph Curry and combine both, and they don't equal LBJ. Wait a minute. From 2014 to 2018, during his second run with Cleveland, 44 such moves were made, which is only 7 less than Steph Curry's entire career, spanning over 14 years, which is only 12 less in a 4-year period of what we saw with Kobe Bean Bryant's entire career with the same team over 20 years. But the Jordans and the Kobes and the Currys, they all have winning percentages when it comes to the NBA Finals or the NBA Championship or the NBA title. Come on, man. Come on, man. So what I'm trying to say is, part of being a franchise player is what we see in this graphic pertaining to Michael Jordan, pertaining to Kobe Bryant, pertaining to Stephen Curry. When you are a franchise player, and like I said, every superstar who's competed in the league didn't play their entire career for one franchise. I'm not saying it has to be done because you can't, let's say Wembanyama. Now, he's just getting started. Now, will he play his entire career for the Spurs? Time will tell. But I tell you what, I know the Spurs are hoping that he don't leave and go nowhere else, especially once he starts hitting his prime. But what I'm saying is, when you are the franchise player and willing to represent the franchise as the guy, the organization sees you as the cornerstone on a year-by-year basis, a process of starting all over again and trying to accomplish something and win a championship down the road one day. You are the guy. You are. I don't like to call when they say the face of the NBA and all that, man, the face of the league. That's getting played out. Because if you ain't, man, the way the NBA commentary set up now, they try to convince someone that every day that this guy's the face of the league and all that, man. And it comes down to winning, man. And the way my mind works is who like Jason Tatum is the reigning champion. Jaylen Brown is the reigning champion. That's how I see it. They are the NBA champions as of right now. Okay. And they're not even getting the recognition. And see, the bar's been lowered so bad where players who are representing Team USA who lost in the first round are receiving more a recognition than the young stars who defeated those players in the playoffs and did it in the first round. See, it's all backwards right now. You didn't have that problem back then. But what I'm trying to say is, when I look at LeBron James' career, his fans cannot even dispute the fact when they say the front office is inept or the front office is no good or they don't know what they're doing and all this jazz. Well, the front office fundamentally is not the problem. The problem is no front office should be conducting this level of acquisitions every year to begin with. That's the dysfunction. No franchise should be forced to overhaul half the roster every year. That is dysfunction. You cannot build chemistry like that. See, what happens is when you operate on this guy's timeline, and when he could only play one style, look at what's happened to the Los Angeles Lakers. They had a young core, and everybody know, that's a subscriber to this channel and who was taking time to listen to my videos. They know I'm a fan of the Lakers, an ardent fan of the Lakers. I'm disgusted by what happened to that young core. I don't take that lightly. They had the young talent in place. They had a perfect system of play that, how can I say this? Incorporate the talent of everybody, of what their strengths are. With him, it's like his way of the highway because he can't play no other way. This is what constantly pressures franchises to make one trade after the next, one trade after the next, one trade after the next, because his system of itself is not sustainable. It devalues players. It devalues positions. It devalues other superstars who they bring in that's designed to help this dude win and go to the finals every year. Look, his 4 years in Miami, it didn't require as much because they did all the initial transition up front when they formed the super team in 2010. So they had such a jump on the competition in the East. He didn't have to push for that type of constant movement and trades every year. But don't you see, as he's gotten older, right? And his style of play has become, how can I say this? Less of a true impact when it comes to winning. Especially when you start talking about a conventionally non-super team. The system losing the impact is what's causing the acceleration of all this player turnover over the past 10 seasons, from 2014 up until now. 118 for LBJ. 35 for Michael Jordan over 15 years. 56 for Kobe Bryant over 20 years. 51 for Steph Curry over 14, 15 years. So what this graph shows clearly is that the organizations, whichever team he's playing for, has to do more for him. It's contingent on what they do for him more than what he does for the organization in terms of trying to win. Clearly. So as we approach the end of this era of stacking the deck, now we see the drawback of all of this. But unfortunately, the Los Angeles Lakers, or the franchise that is experiencing the negative impact of what all this extreme player acquisition and turnover has caused and what has led to. Rob Pelinka is being hated and criticized for a situation that started years before they brought this dude to the team. That's what I'm trying to say. And I'm sure he's sitting there scratching his head like, why can we not attract a free agent? And then fans of the Lakers are wondering why the Lakers can't make any moves. They are all tapped out. They are operating under the second tax apron. The more player overhaul, the more you have to exploit the system to produce those type of moves on a yearly basis. But you're depleting your asset capital. You're depleting your own talent pool in the process. And in this case, in record time. I haven't seen this ever in any of the 3 or 4 major professional sports leagues: NBA, NFL, MLB, NHL. Ever. And we're never going to see it again. So it's like we're stuck right in the eye of this hurricane. But see, a player like Kobe Bryant, when they say, they harp on, well, Jordan didn't do anything without Pippen. He needed Pippen. Well, of course, in a team sport where there's 5 players on the team, one player, no matter how phenomenal you are, you can't win a championship as the sole presence. All Jordan needed was a prime player. One prime player and everybody else to play their role to win. All Kobe needed, once Shaq was traded, and this is not a knock on Shaq, it's just what history has shown us. All Kobe needed, man, he said, he just needed a post player, a traditional post player who can score with his back to the basket. Right? And everybody to play their role. That's it. Steph Curry to be a 6'3", 6'3.5" combo guard. He had his co-star for years, the Splash Brothers and Klay Thompson, and a key contributor to the team. You know when he's focused right, and Draymond Green, and they played a fabulous team system on offense and defense. And Steph Curry is one of the great players of this game of all time. And will finish his career as a Golden State Warrior. And who knows, he may become president of the team one day. But you can't hate that because he represented his franchise through the ups and the downs. Kobe Bryant represented his franchise through the ups and the downs. Michael Jordan represented his franchise through the ups and the downs. As a result, ironically, they didn't need all this to the degree that the guy to the very left is clearly needed. So in closing, this is the real tell of the tape. This clearly shows. See, when we start talking about GOAT conversations and all this, man, you have to consider everything. And to me, if you are deservingly in conversation to be the greatest player of all time, it shouldn't take all this, man. It shouldn't take all this. They'll say, well, Jordan had Pippen and Rodman. Well, I can sit there, okay, yeah, he had Pippen. They went through the wars. They won 3 championships before they got Rodman. They had already won 3 championships. And they acquired Rodman because they lost Horace Grant to the free agency. And Tony Kukoc was more of a finesse player. He was not a rebounding forward. That was not his strong suit. But LeBron has played with the Dwight Howard, who led the league in rebound like 4 times, 3-time Defensive Player of the Year, like 3-4-time rebounding champion. Ben Wallace, 4-time Defensive Player of the Year. DeAndre Jordan led the league in rebound like what 2 times. I think he was may have been Defensive Player of the Year in his own right. Andre Drummond, that's what I was thinking of, 4-time rebounding champion. So LeBron has played with 3 times the rebounding champions or Defensive Player of the Years than Michael Jordan did, or Kobe Bryant did. Kobe Bryant never played with a Defensive Player of the Year at center. Never. Or a rebounding champion. That's just the history of it all. So, look. To prove, it's the dichotomy of the ages in sports. To prove what the media says about him, the organization have to give up of themselves to try to help them prove it. God dang it. I'm telling you, dog, it's not even close, man, who's had the most help in his career. I ain't talking about just superstars. I'm franchise players, superstars, all-stars, high-level role players, elite three-point shooters, defenders, rebounders, you name it, shot blockers, you name it. Wings. Guards. Oh, my God. Larry Hughes. If I'm not mistaken, Larry Hughes, he led the league in steals, I think, the year before he was traded to Cleveland from Washington. He was averaging 22 points a game. He was from 22 points a game to like 15, 16. So I know his fans may not like it, man, but they got to start accepting. There's people out here that know what's up, man. And this man has had the whole backing, man. The whole backing. It is what it is. So I'm going to shut this bad boy down, man. And when someone talk about Jordan had all this help, or Kobe had all this help, or Steph Curry, one of his contemporaries, had all this help, man, I'm going to just use this graphic right here. This is going to be my counter move. And I think the debate going to end just like that. Because there's not a debate, and that's the whole point. Every year is the same thing. Need more help. Need more shooters. They need, Lakers need a big. They need a center. Well, they just had a couple of centers this year. They're supposed to be the answer to the riddle. They had a couple of centers 4 years ago. They can't hold up. They traded their starting center from 2019. They're bringing a shooter. It's always chaos because the style of play, the driving kick, is not a complete basketball winning formula. If you have a true basketball winning formula system, you don't need all this player turnover, especially when you're supposed to be in win now mode. And that's my whole point. So I'm gonna shut this bad boy down. I still can't believe just the numbers, man. It's like a knockout blow. It's like a TKO. It's like a what do you know? But until next time, this is JB for BTB Behind the Bench.